we all woke up on January 1st this year to some horrible fucking news. And of course, I'm, referring to the New Orleans terrorist attack and also the Cybertruck explosion that happened at the Trump Towers in Vegas. And so, y'all, for those who are not familiar, which I'm sure you are, there was a terrorist attack on New Year's Day at around 3:15 a.m. in New Orleans. A white truck barreled down Bourbon Street, which was blocked off only by police cruisers. It should have been blocked off by real cement blockades, but there's all this stuff going on about what happened to the blockades. They weren't ready. We were getting them ready for the Super Bowl, whatever. The point is that they weren't there, and there were just police trucks there blocking off Bourbon Street. And this car swerved around the police trucks and gunned his freaking his accelerator, and sadly 14 people were killed and 35 other people were injured in this attack. And the attack ended with a gunfight because, according to eyewitnesses, this man, not only did he have a car that he was using as a weapon, but he actually had weapons on him, and he jumped out of the car and started spraying. Like, this is so surreal and so unreal. Like, when I heard this story and hearing the details emerging, it's just like, is this for real? And so he died, the police shot and killed him. And as investigations went on the next day and the days after, FBI found out that not only did this guy use his car as a weapon, have weapons on him, was shooting people, because some people were hit and shot, like insane, but he also had bombs in his truck. And not just bombs in his truck, but he had also had IEDs, improvised explosive devices, all around Bourbon Street and I believe other parts of the French Quarter. So thankfully, his devices did not go off, and that's what they say is part of the reason why he even used his truck, was because his devices were not going off. And so thankfully they didn't go off, because had they gone off, this man was clearly looking to take out thousands of people, because Bourbon Street is always packed no matter what time of year you're there, but especially on New Year's Eve. Come on. There were thousands of people inside of the bars, inside of the restaurants, on the street, because like I said, they block off the streets. You can walk up and down Bourbon Street and some of the other streets in the French Quarter. And this man would have taken out thousands. So I'm just so grateful that didn't work out, but he still managed to do horrific damage. And, investigators found out that the man who was driving was 42-year-old Shamsud Din Jabbar, a Texas native, an American-born Texas native who was an Army active duty serviceman from 2006 to 2015. And he had been deployed to Afghanistan in 2009. And through more investigations, they found he had published some videos to Facebook right before the attack. And that in those videos, he described the fact that he had become inspired by by ISIS, the terrorist group ISIS, which it's like, them motherfuckers are still out here. ISIS still exists? That's still a thingy thing? Okay. Okay. I was like, I can't believe that ISIS is really still out here, like a real thing. But yes, so apparently he got inspired by ISIS. He had a black ISIS flag flying on the back of his truck. So this was a terrorist attack, according to the media, according to reports, through and through. This man, what was his name again? Shamsud Din Jabbar. He actually was not raised Muslim, but he converted to Islam. And yeah, he decided that he wanted to, quote, focus on the quote, war between the believers and the disbelievers, end quote, according to his videos that have been released. So, folks, this is what we woke up to. And it could have been a much worse tragedy, but it was horrible. It was just so horrible. It was just such a deplorable and miserable act. And I'm just like, I know this guy did this for personal reasons. One of the things that he said in the videos was that he had initially planned on harming his family and his friends. He had just broken up with his wife. You know the story, y'all, and we're gonna talk about that. He had just broken up with his wife. He had just had some financial issues. I think he had just been fired from his job. And so he was struggling. He was falling on rough times. And so he decided to take this act. And that's one of the things that he said. He wanted to actually harm his family and friends, but instead he wanted to focus the news coverage on the, quote, war between believers and disbelievers, end quote. Why can't terrorists terrorize the people who are actually doing the terror? Like, why y'all gotta come after degular people who are also suffering under the same exact system that is oppressing, suppressing, exploiting you and your people and your cause? Like, what? Why can't y'all go after the big dogs? Why you got to come after the people? People on Bourbon Street, they didn't have a say in the fuck shit that our government has done out here in these streets. I'm just, I'm tired of these terrorists and these mass shooters out here who are targeting degular people. And it's like, why can't you? Why it's just it always reminds me, what it makes me think of is like, the robbers and the burglars out there who rob and burglarize people in the hood. Why don't you go to the rich towns and do that shit? Why don't you go to the rich cities? Why don't you go do that in corporations? Why are you going into broke people's houses trying to rob them? They're already suffering. And I know people will be like, well, they have better security systems. It's harder to, it's easier for these people to attack people out in the public who are, unguarded and unprepared for that type of thing than like government buildings that are heavily fortified and heavily guarded. Okay, but I mean, where there's a will, there's a way. I just feel like, and I'm not sitting here condoning, going out and doing this. I'm just saying, like, if you are in a place in your life where this is the action you want to take, you are at a place where you can willingly get behind the wheel of a car and ram it into dozens of people, killing 14, injuring 35, and then jump out with the motherfucking gat, ratatata. But you mean to tell me you too scared to go up against a heavily secured building? Where there's a will, there's a way. You planned this whole thing out. You could have planned I'm just like, please stop targeting regular people. Please stop. Target that energy where it actually can do something. We saw with the whole, murder of the CEO, we saw how suddenly after that happened, insurance companies started to think a little bit differently, think twice. I'm not saying that they've changed totally. They haven't, but we saw this evidenced by the Anthem Blue Shield decision for them to drop their new plan to charge people for anesthesia after a certain point in time. We saw that happen suddenly, right after the CEO got murdered. Suddenly they were like, oh, JK. We're actually not going to do that. Please don't come after us. We saw how they started taking down all their CEO's information. That's public information anyway. It's like, I just feel like, if you have a message and you feel like this is what you're going to do to get that message out, take the message to the people who actually have the power to do something about it. Leave innocent civilians alone. And it's just so frustrating to me. And it pisses me the hell off, man. You have this kind of guts. You got the guts to do all this nonsense, but you don't have the guts to take it where the fuck it matters.